Hi, my name is Connie Gross, and I'm an infant and early childhood mental health consultant for the Children's Resource Center in Bowling Green, Ohio. And today's parent chat topic is what babies need most. We're going to take a deeper look at what infants need from their caregiver to meet their social and emotional needs. But first, before we dive into that, it's important for us to take a quick look at what babies need for their basic needs. And in order to have their social and emotional needs met, their basic needs have to be met first. Some of these things really go without explaining, like babies need food and clothing and shelter. Other things we might not think as much about, like breathing, it's the caregiver's responsibility that, for example, babies are put to bed without in a safe place that is free from pillows and stuffed animals, things that might inhibit their breathing. Caregivers are responsible for keeping their diapers clean and that the babies are washed and warm, that they are provided opportunities to get as much sleep as they need. And infants need lots of sleep. And like all humans, babies need physical touch. Now, once we've got those basic needs met, we need to start thinking about their social and emotional needs, even as newborns. And so today we're going to take a deeper look at what caregivers need to be able to think about and provide to meet infants' social and emotional needs. The first thing is that infants need a regulated adult. Now, we might feel a wide range of emotions, and at times we might struggle to handle those emotions in the most positive way. But what our infant really needs from us is that we respond to them in a consistent manner. So we think about when our infant is crying and in distress. Maybe they're needing one of those basic needs met, like a clean diaper, or they're hungry. Or maybe they're just needing some physical touch. They need a grown-up who has their body calm and under control to respond to them. So that has to do with the way that we touch the infant, being gentle with the way that we pick them up and handle them, that our tone of voice is even and consistent, and that our facial expressions express care and concern for their needs. They also need to be able to co-regulate, which means that when they are in distress, they're going to kind of feed off of us in order to regulate themselves. And so they need us to take deep breaths. They may need us to do some rocking or swaying or gently patting their bottom. They may need us to talk with them, sing to them, do some of those comforting types of responses so that they're able to calm down and get to a state where they are more relaxed or able to rest. Infants also need nurturing connections. And that has to do with some of the things that we talked about on the last slide, but also in that we're responsive, meaning that when our infant cries and lets us know that there's a need, that we are trying to meet that need. No, they don't come with a manual, and sometimes it's a bit like an experiment, trying to figure out, oh, is he hungry? Does she need her diaper changed? But we're trying to figure that out. We're doing our best to keep ourselves regulated and trying to figure out what they need so that we're able to give that to them and that we're attuned to their needs. And so we're maybe looking at our baby's cues. You might have noticed that your infant is like chewing or sucking on their hands. That might be a cue that they're hungry. If you see your infant maybe yawning or their eyes looking heavy, that might be a cue that they're tired. So we're looking for some of those cues, not just the schedule they might be on, but also the cues that our actual baby is giving us about their needs and how we can maybe meet those. And then also thinking about that principle of serve and return, in that a foundational part of social emotional health is that when your child infant looks at you, You're maybe looking at them and you're smiling and talking to them, and you might see them looking back at you. As they get older, they might start to coo or make sounds or facial expressions back at you, and that's called serve and return. And that's the beginning of communication. And we need to keep these things in mind because all of this helps to build trust. Even as infants, they're letting their needs be known by crying or fussing. And then, as the caregiver, we're responding to those needs. And so they learn that they can trust their caregiver to help support and provide for them when they need it. And that's a foundational skill for their social and emotional health. And then the last thing we're going to talk about today is a safe environment. This can have so many factors in it. The first one is that we want to think about the physical environment, the place. And that has to do with, making sure that the things around our infant are age appropriate. So for example, you might have heard of like an exerciser or a little entertainment thing that you can sit an infant down in and they can maybe play with. If that infant is able to hold their head up and sit up, then that would be a safe place for them to play. If we put a newborn in there where their head is wobbly and they're maybe kind of wobbling around, even though that's for infants, that's not a safe environment for them because they're not able to really control their head. And it's just not, they're not old enough to participate that in a way that's safe. So we want to kind of think about that. The toys that we offer them, they often have age recommendations on them, so that can be helpful when we're purchasing them. You can Google them if you're not sure. Obviously, the packaging probably gets thrown away, or maybe you've gotten some toys from family members or friends, or you pass them down from older children. And so maybe Googling them and looking at what the recommendation is. We know that infants are going to first explore things with their mouth. So we want to make sure that there's nothing on that they could get into their mouth that might present a choking hazard for them. We already talked about where they sleep. We want to make sure that we're putting them to bed in a place where they can be safe. We want to think about how we have the environment set up as far as, once they're able to start rolling, we really want to be careful on the changing table. And if we were to ever set them on like the couch or the bed, that potential could be a risk of falling or something like that. So we really, as infants, they're growing and developing very quickly. And so we really always have to be thinking about that environment and how as they grow and change and they're able to do more things, there's potentially more risks. So even as they get older and maybe crawling, kind of reassessing the environment, things that weren't of concern before may now be of concern because they're mobile and able to get into things. So really trying to keep that physical environment safe. And then the other component of this environmentally is who's around our baby. We want to make sure that when we're thinking especially about their social and emotional health, that we only allow people that we trust around our infant. So they are the most vulnerable, they need the most protection. And so we definitely don't want to be leaving our infant with people that we don't know that well, or people who maybe in the past haven't always been able to make the safest decisions. We want to be careful about our infant around those people. And then keeping in mind who's coming and going from the home. Sometimes there might be company popping in and things like that. And so we just want to be aware of always protecting our infants from any potential risk. And it is your job as the caregiver to kind of advocate for your child. So let's say maybe a friend stops over and is holding your baby, and maybe they're not supporting your baby's head and there's no malintent there. They just didn't maybe recognize that your baby needed that level of support. It is totally okay and appropriate for you to say, oh, she doesn't really have control of her head yet. Could you support her neck better? So saying, advocating for your child when you feel like maybe there are some things going on. Let's say, there may be holding your child when maybe they're feeling upset or something. You might just say, she can feed off of your emotions. Your stress can make her feel stressed. And so I'm going to take her for a few minutes until you calm down or something like that. It is totally okay to advocate for whatever you feel like your child needs to keep them safe. So if you'd like more resources on infants' needs, like we already said, they need a lot of things, and they need a lot of materials, and they need a lot of things from the grown-ups around them. But the thing that they need most is someone who cares for them and is trying to do their very best. So you could check out these websites, or check out our YouTube channel. It has a lot of resource videos for caregivers. There's nearly 200 there about a wide range of topics. And then we also have a Facebook page where we share resources for caregivers every single day. So feel free to check us out there. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.